The next show we're going to be talking about is Restaurant to Another World, or Isekai Shokudo.
Now, I consider this one kind of like I don't know, it's an interesting, it's almost like, because I couldn't watch Food Wars this season, this is like a nice little prelude
Replacement, yeah.
replacement for that, because, here's the guy and I will say this, they like, I don't know if maybe they just hadn't come out with it yet, but they abruptly end the season. So I don't know if they're doing it in, like Durarara did, where it's doing it in split
Multiple
up.
cores, yeah.
Yeah, multiple cores or whatever. Because I don't see how it could have ended where it did. I'm like, no, y'all. I know how most animes end, and I know how some of them can be like abrupt or whatever. But this one didn't even seem like it ended. They were like just kind of gearing up for a bunch of stuff, and then now it's just they haven't gone past episode 12 from what I can tell. So
Yeah.
I'm like, the hell? So there might be one more, or they might be breaking it up into cores at this point.
Okay. Hopefully it's not like some shows, like there's
They
one show
just
that got...
like
Huh?
lost the funding for or whatever.
Yeah, like they just get canceled because like they're not
Yeah,
doing
because
well.
there's nothing like. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing absolutely amazing about this show, but it's still to me a good, solid show. Because it takes so many different people and kind of throws them all together. Like their common link between all these people is this restaurant.
Yeah.
This restaurant that originates here in our world, and the door to which every Saturday will appear in this other world and different parts of this other world. Mm-hmm. So it's only one world that it's going to, but it's different parts of this other world that it will appear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but it's super interesting in its own way, because they have the dragon. It ended up being another dragon.
Ooh, cool.
And then you end up finding out that these dragons are actually they've been around for almost forever, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like long before most other species had been around. And they actually had this like battle with another hugely powerful being that almost destroyed their universe. And it was like 3 or 4 different dragons that had teamed up and finally managed to take it down. So I think one of them ended up dying in the process of it. And but yeah, like the second dragon you end up coming across is, because the red dragon's the dragon of fire, then you have the dragon of like ice or water, basically. This one was the black dragon of death. And because when humanity on their world first started to come about, with her being around, her presence was literally killing things. Just her like aura, essentially, around her. So she ended up going to the moon, their moon, and basically just stayed there. Like, she can't die.
Yeah.
But literally, she's just there because she doesn't want to kill anything. But then that's when one of the door actually appears for her on the moon. Just weird as all get out. But literally, it appears for her on the moon, and she actually comes in. Which was funny, of course, because she didn't know anything about, like, what was going... Like, she basically downsized herself into a human form, but of course... just like the other dragon, doesn't really think about anything else decorum-wise. So she literally walks in, and the chef walks out to say hi, and is just like looking away off into the... Can you put some clothes on, please? She's like, oh, yeah, sure. And just basically materializes it and puts it on, kind of cloaks herself in like shadow, essentially. But then she ends up becoming basically a waitress there.
So in human form, does that like death aura not work?
I think it's because either the human form is it won't work, or humanity itself might have evolved to the point where now it's like her presence is not enough to do that anymore.
Okay. Because as soon as you said the door appeared, I'm like, no, don't kill everybody.
Yeah. No, she's able to actually go in and everything's fine. Though it's funny, she's so, because she has spent so many like centuries on the moon, she is so disconnected with the rest of the world and everything going on. She doesn't. Her way of doing things is not necessarily like what you would think would be normal, I guess, for the most part. And she usually doesn't like to actually talk.
Uh-huh.
she'll usually actually, and it's sometimes as you've, that's funny is the reaction some people have. She'll actually input her words into their mind.
Ah,
So she's like
telepathic.
telepathically communicating with them, and she'll look at them like, or they'll look at her like, did she? No, never mind. I want food. We're gonna get food. That's fine. It's like, all right, whatever. But there's like so much because they keep adding different people, different monsters. There's people from the desert area. They've got fairies and pixies coming into the restaurant. They've got elves. Um, they have like heroes from like their long forgotten. Like it's just so many different things, and they're coming together, and to see how they actually all fit together and how they mold and how they're communicating and what's going on. There's a prince of the desert area who likes another. There's a princess who
Uh-huh.
comes into the restaurant from another continent
Yeah.
in that same land. So he knows of her and he's actually interested in her, but he doesn't have the courage to actually come up and actually talk to her.
Ah.
So there's like kind of like a love story going on there just a little bit, and like the guy's sister keeps like egging him on, and then gets all pushed out of shape when he doesn't do something. She's like, "You were supposed to talk to her. Why didn't you talk? I'm trying. You didn't even go up to her. Give me time. I'll do this. This will happen." So I mean, it's just there's a lot going on, and it's very interesting to see how it all fits together. And again, it's all focused around food for some weird, strange reason, but that's the case. It is. This guy brings the cuisines from our world over to their world, and people just love it. And then like he'll usually, if someone doesn't know what to order, he'll usually ask what they normally eat, and then he'll actually come up with something that actually is equivalent or from our side to their side kind of thing. So
Yeah.
because like there was harpies that ended up coming into the restaurant,
Uh-huh.
and they usually eat raw fish. So he actually came up with, there was a recipe for something, I don't even remember what it was, but there was a recipe that he came up with, and he's like, okay, here you go, and they just absolutely loved it. Like, oh, this is amazing, and then that's where it kind of reminds me of Food Wars, because then they start describing the food or something, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, you did it like this, oh, that's just, oh, it's delicious, oh, and then it's funny because they even made comment to themselves saying that whenever a new person comes in, the next time that they come in, they're always ordering pretty much whatever it is that they first came and ordered. So now that ends up becoming like their name. So like one of them's like beef
Ah.
stew, the other one's like parfait, another person's like curry bun. So it's like all these different people, but people know them. They know that they're all from the same world, but they don't necessarily all know each other where they're at in that world.
Yeah.
But because of that, they just name themselves with whatever it is that they normally would order whenever they walk into the restaurant.
That's cool.
So as it's a fun little adventure. It's I think it has a lot of potential. I'm hoping they're going to go forward with it more. But I guess we'll see. Again, I don't know why it's only on 12 episodes right now. And it seems like they kind of just abruptly just stopped. Like I think for the last week and a half, I haven't seen any new episodes come out. So I'm hoping maybe it's just a core that they're going to continue on with, like maybe a season after next or something. I don't know. Either way, again, it's interesting. It's really worth a watch.
All right. Yeah, I really liked it when I started it, so I want to go back because sounds like some pretty interesting things happen.
Yeah. I don't want to overly generalize, but I think every kid's dream of like having a superhero school, and then like legitimizing. And it's funny too because the last episode I watched of it, they actually made comment to the fact that he's actually someone actually has the ability to see the future, maybe not like exact, but at least certain details and what.